Data log of Celian First Contact 2667, War Chief Torlak. "What say the scanners?" demanded Torlak at a young bridge officer. "Nothing currently, War Chief. Just some background noise of the nearby gas giant," he said before continuing his work. He pondered the viewport from his raised seat and took in the hum of electronics present on the bridge, with the crew manipulating data on their respective screens. Before him, a series of celestial bodies were dotted on a holographic display in the center of the bridge. 6 planets were present, with an asteroid that separated the 5th from the 6th body, which happened to be a large gas giant with several more moons orbiting it. Instead, he turned his attention toward the 4th and 5th planets, which orbited relatively close, but barely outside each other's influence. He manipulated the display on the 2, and in full color showcased 2 planets vibrant with blue and green, indicating a possibility for life. "Creo, what can you tell me about these 2 worlds?" Torlak asked his chief star scientist. "They are Demira and Anmira, sister planets recently discovered just last year by a group of explorers commissioned by the Fathers to explore this region of space," he explained. "As long as it's away from Galactic Union space," Torlak said, garnering small snickers from the crew. "They're nothing but fanatical." His crew nodded in agreement before one of the crew members called his attention. "War Chief, I'm picking up a signal opposite the planet. It's small, but I think I can access it." Torlak pondered the notion before waving his hand with assent. What felt like days was only mere minutes before he exclaimed his findings. "Chief, I have it! Shall I bring it up on screen?" Torlak nodded. "Do it." Before he and the crew were a series of images and sounds that assaulted their ears before being isolated into individual entities. Torlak looks upon the cycling of images and video before him. Hairless bipeds, with the only evidence of hair on their heads and face. Creo began cycling through his datapad on all the known races within the Galactic Union, but came up empty. "I thought this area of space was void of a colony," Torlak stated. "It should be," Creo responded. "The Home Council has yet to approve this system's colonization. It is still pending." So far, the images and video, while still jarring, were not as much of a concern as finding a new race of sapient beings. However, he held on to his reservations. "Cease all communications and ensure we haven't been detected," he ordered. His crew did as they were told and awaited his next series of instructions. After it was reported, they were clear. The bridge returned to only the hum of electronics and ventilation before he answered. "Return home," he said promptly. "Leave a probe in the asteroid field and arrange a meeting with the War Council in interspace." They did as they were ordered, and noticed a probe make its way into the asteroid field closest to Anmira, facing both planets. Their orbits were more or less in sync, and Torlak used that to keep an eye on both planets. The probe was the latest in stealth capability, and is primarily used for military operations to keep their eyes on the edge of Union space. However, he had a feeling about these beings that didn't sit right with him, and instead chose to convene with the War Council on the matter. The chamber was in an uproar. "Are we sure they're not one with the Galactic Union?" one councilman asked. "Beyond our region of space? Are you absurd?" another rebuked. This continued with War Chief Torlak standing before them as they argued among one another before ultimately turning their attention toward the one in question. "What say you, War Chief?" The center-most council member beckoned. His demeanor was calm, and his leathery-like skin was wrought with creases and scars from battles past. "I have provided what information we could gather," he said, projecting the information on a hologram projector in the center of the room. Many of the photos and videos showcased were innocent, showing parental figures and their offspring, much like how his people would memorialize their travels. However, we did come across what seems to be a news report within their people. Phonetically, yes, our language is similar. Their script, however, is vastly different from ours. I had some of our technicians translate it. He turned on the audio log across the bottom. "TRSC troops secure refinery depot in Alameda system." "Do they use Galactic Common, War Chief?" one council member asked. "Phonetically, yes, our language is similar. Their script, however, is vastly different from ours. I had some of our technicians translate it." He turned on the audio. Republic forces in proximity to Alameda system, led by Vice Admiral Wolf, retook control of the largest refinery in the system, and workers are rejoicing at their rescue. On the ground, leading the decisive assault was Lieutenant O'Brien, who... The feed was cut off and the council members groaned with dismay. "I am sorry, but that was all we could retrieve before we had to leave the system," Torlak responded to their groans. The council members looked at one another and began their debate. If this is truly an independent race, should we not induct them under the Union? One in green robes suggested, but was rebuked by one dressed in red. "Are you crazy? Our relationship with the Union is too strained to bring them in. I'm surprised they haven't sent the Flag and Legion unions after us. As long as they hold up their end of the treaty, we should be fine. I think we should make diplomatic contact with them." Another in blue added to the conversation. This would continue back and forth, and Torlak could do nothing but wait. After several hours, it seemed they had finally come to a final decision. "It is the opinion of this council that this new race be promptly and swiftly eradicated." A member who donned purple spoke. "May I ask the reason?" "I find this decision most ill," Torlak responded. The one in purple rose. He had an arrogant face, and his actions felt like they were wishing for a fight. "You know our history with the Galactic Union and our hard-fought war to gain our independence from them." Torlak nodded. "We simply cannot risk another species into the fold. They have shown that they still fight among their own and show no sense of unity. In any case, this might provide a needed advantage to gain favor with the Union," he said, his nose raised slightly to the air. "Do you accept this task?" "I do," Torlak said, kneeling. He was dismissed, and he left for his ship. The decision weighed heavily on his mind. He would resolve himself and complete his task. He entered his ship and with his battle group set off to their first target. Torlak and his battle group drifted through space, scanning all parts of the sector. They entered from the outermost part of the system with the planets Demira and Anmira. "Ensure all ships are at stealth output and jam any signals that enter our sphere," Torlak commanded. He peered out into the void, and magnified images of the respective planets were in front of him. He noticed more buzz around the bodies, more than before, and issued a caution to the group. He once again thought to himself about the purpose of his mission. He understood that what he was about to commit goes against much of what he believed in, but found ways to rationalize it. Steeling himself, he spoke to the group. "Attention to all within the War Council's attack force. We are about to engage whose expansion is imperial and threatens our borders. Just like with the advances of the Galactic Union, we will not yield our home to invaders." Cheers rang out from the intercom of his ships and among his bridge. His speech renewed his resolve, and he gave the orders to advance. The speech he gave was the official declaration among his people, and they accepted it. If anything resembled the Union, they hated it and sought its destruction. A result of this is also the increase in recruitment into all branches. They needed more soldiers, and this was the perfect reason for them to join. Utilizing their medium-sized vessels, they started toward all communication relays, which only numbered 4. Their forces split, and 2/3 headed for Demira, while the other third headed for Anmira. As soon as they left sublight travel, they destroyed the relays and bombarded stations that orbited the planets. The ships nearby were all cargo and no bigger than their small frigates. They were commercial, but that didn't stop Torlak and his group. They continued their sudden attack and chased any ships that tried to leave, jamming all signals as they did so. When their scans showed no movement, they turned their sights onto the planet and sent out raiding parties. During the start of the raid, he received a call from the leader of the ground forces. "Chief General Torlak." The individual called, "What do you want us to do with the non-combatants?" Torlak pondered. He knew he was cruel as a commander, but he wasn't a monster. "Kill the warriors and take the rest as slaves. Perhaps we can sell them to the Union." He paused. "But keep the young and healthy. Kill the rest." "Yes, Chief General," he said, and cut his transmission. Several large cargo ships made their way to the surface and promptly loaded their newly acquired prizes. He hadn't planned for slaves, but felt that if they could take as much as they can, It could buy favor from the Union and improve their standing to not be their target. He knew it to be cruel, but pushed it to the back of his mind. Operations were smooth when the planet scarred. He and his group pressed on before receiving notice from one of his crewmen. "Chief General, picking up a singular ship on the edge of the system." "Do we have ships nearby to intercept?" He nodded. "We do. Already on their way." Torlak nodded. The ship in question was a stubby ship with room for two, and the engines made up almost the entire ship. Nothing was outstanding of the ship to warrant suspicion. It just looked odd. As he was peering at the holo projector, he was notified again by the same previous crewman. "Sir, the ship is leaving the system, toward an intersystem gate they had entered from." He raised his non-existent eyebrows, urging the crewman to continue. "We got scans of the ship from the closest interceptor." He paused. "Sir, it's a data runner." "What?" Torlak roared. "After it, and destroy it!" The three interceptors fired a volley of projectiles, largely missing their mark. The craft was accelerating faster than the interceptors before it opened a tear in space near an intersystem gate. Torlak was dumbfounded, along with the rest of the crew. Among the silence, he heard a mumble from one of the crewmen who manned the sensor arrays on the ship. "They don't use a gate?" he said in an audible whisper. But that's impossible." "Creo, what's he talking about?" Torlak ordered from his chief scientist. It appears that this race doesn't use the conventional intersystem gate that us and the Union use." He swallowed. "Instead, they just tore through space and, well, vanished." He was at a loss. All ships, both Celian and Galactic Union, utilize two forms of travel. Sublight is used for travel between celestial bodies in a system and the intersystem gate, a tunnel of space that connects one system to another. Previous eras utilized large gates that could open up an interspace gate, but now ships have that technology on board, and they can open it if they are close enough. So whatever this ship did was outside their realm of knowledge. Forcefully, he shoved those thoughts aside. "All ships advance to the nearest IS gate and await your orders. All slave ships proceed home. I will send word of our cargo." Torlak cut his transmission and proceeded toward their designated spot. "This is just the beginning," he said aloud. His crew nodded, and he and the rest of his fleet readied before the intersystem gate. As he said, he relayed word to the War Council about their latest cargo and what was to be done. With that out of the way, he pressed on and waited until all available warships were present before entering the gate. Before advancing, he addressed all ships present. "Now is the moment of truth. We are embarking on a journey foreign to us. Much like the Union, this republic has encroached on our territory without so much a warning. We will not yield to invaders. Press on." A large circular gate opened that separated tunnel space from real space. The tunnel swirled in green and white with jagged sparks of plasma intermittently dancing from the tear in real space. One by one, Celian ships entered the gate, and as the last entered, space was returned to its silent void.
Transmission incoming. Dema system inquiry. To Stellfleetcom, Orbcom, Raidcom. From Star Runner 4311, jumped to Dema system for routine data pickup. Dema Ivor and VCOM relays were offline. Using advanced visual scanners, Dema colony was attacked by an unknown entity. Ships of unknown make and model. Scavenged data from a damaged satellite. Colonists were dead and captured. Damage to long-range transmitters, hard data only. ETA, 7 days to Sol. End transmission.